waiting for a hero.
On paper, Balan Wonderworld should have been Square Enix's explosive answer to Nintendo's Mario, coming as it does from Yuji Naka, the original programmer of Sonic the Hedgehog, but who is also from such pedigree as Phantasy Star Online, Nights into Dreams, and other Hall of Fame style games. What's interesting though is that he left Sega back in 2006, joining Square in 2018 to head up the team that would then go on to create this title. In an interview recently, he described how, although he's worked in RPGs, platformers are really where he excels, and so that's why we've got Balan Wonderworld. I was aware of the largely negative reaction to the demo, but I've got to be honest, I thought maybe everyone was just jumping on the bandwagon and the actual game wouldn't be so bad. I was horribly wrong. Thanks to Square Enix for the review copy. Why such a woeful Wonderworld? Well, let's find out. The vast majority of the game is set in the Balan Theatre, the home of the titular Balan. The storytelling here isn't great at all. It's clunky and convoluted, and it comes across as just trying too hard while attempting to give everything a serious undertone that comes across as a touch macabre but mostly just meaningless. There are two main protagonists here, one called Leo Craig and Emma Cole, and each of whom have their own issues to deal with as you progress through the story. As for gameplay and controls then, this is where Balan Wonderworld really lets itself down. There are 12 different worlds to work your way through. They're connected to a hub area of sorts, a floating island called the Isle of Tims that has a very unusual mechanic whereby different coloured crystals that you collect can be scattered across the floor for these tiny chick-like Tims to feast on, and then they'll head into the machine in the centre. A number goes up on the screen, and if you're confused, yeah, so am I. When you enter one of the stages though, there's a very specific layout. You have two main world areas and then a boss fight. You can choose the order that you go into these, and they're quite straightforward, open-ish areas that rely on platforming. You control the character with the left stick, or should I say characters. As you go about the world, you'll find small keys which can then be used to unlock different unique ability-giving costumes, like running on a bubble, or the rabbit that can jump high and walk through the air, down to a Tasmanian Devil style one replete with spin attack. What you'll see straight away is just how slow and awkward your characters move around the world. It's like their arms and legs are up to speed, but the rest of them can't keep up. I can almost feel Sonic peering awkwardly over the shoulder of the developer, saying, "What on earth are you doing?" If you fall to your death or lose a life or are hit by an enemy, then you lose the current costume, and you can transition to these using the L and R bumpers. These transitions are much too slow. The platformer featuring enemies and some segments that require you to change, you want this to happen almost instantaneously. Anything less, and particularly what we've got here, feels frustratingly slow. Now the world is filled with different collectibles for you to find, those aforementioned crystals, as well as some hidden Balan statues that you'll need to look for in order to progress to further stages, although this isn't really explained properly. And a number of mini-games that are accessed by finding certain crystal drops. These range from playing golf for a few seconds, kicking a football a number of squares, and if you find the top hat in a level, then you'll unlock the Balan's Bout. This sees you control Balan, and I say control in the loosest sense of the word. You use the A button to line up his image, and if you get it just right, well, it says excellent on the screen. If you don't get it just right, it says great, and yeah, oh dear. I really don't know what they were thinking when they implemented some of these design choices. If it sounds dull, well, it plays even more so. At the end of that, depending on how well you press the A button, it will increase your score multiplier in terms of those gems collected and give you a percentage boost. Now the earlier stages saw the world shifting and bending up away from the character, and this is where I noticed another issue. We'll talk about it a bit more in performance, but the game physically makes you feel sick. Not something I've ever experienced being a big VR player. Let's look next at level design. This was one area I was assured would be excellent, as once again I'm looking back to Sonic, but not the case. There are a number of different hidden areas that you can access, but conversely you'll go to some, not be able to access them, or get glitched out and stuck in a rock, or find lots of invisible barriers that stop you traversing to those seemingly hidden areas. It feels more like they got the temp level designer in to work on this game. One thing that Balan Wonderworld does do well is introducing new mechanics via the new character unlocks as you progress in the different worlds. More and more of these alter egos are introduced as you progress. There is a touch of combat in the game, but this is little more than enemies spawning around you and you either jumping on their heads or using one of your other abilities to knock them out in a single hit. They move slowly and arduously towards you, and when I gazed into their lifeless eyes, almost for a moment, I think I heard him say, "Why isn't he working on Sonic 5?" My favourite aspect of Balan Wonderworld are the boss fights. There is one of these at the end of the 2 stages mentioned, and they follow the rule of 3 hits to the T. Usually you'll be firing a ball back, dodging a few things, before firing another ball back, until you've done 3 and they are defeated. If you do work your way through the 12 stages and manage to complete that unusual Tower of Tims I was talking about, then you'll unlock a new 3rd stage for each of the worlds, which is nice and gives it a bit of longevity after you've hit the credits. As a debut project for a new team at Square Enix though, Balan Wonderworld is an embarrassment. It does nothing as well as its peers. It takes influence clearly from some of the newer Mario titles in its character shifting system, but feels unfinished, unpolished, and not fit for purpose. Gameplay is tedious, there are some strange systems that aren't explained to the player, and while it's nice that they've included co-op, I don't think the different costume switching mechanics are really working here, and well designed leaves a lot to be desired. For me, I give gameplay 7 out of 20, and the controls feel unresponsive and clunky, even down to allowing you to go into a menu and switch off the automatic camera adjustment, only for it to not actually switch off. And then when you try and leave the menus by pressing B, like you've done on every other game on the Nintendo Switch, it will only take you so far, and then you actually have to manually go down to a button and press A, no thanks. And why? Oh, why there's no run button? I do not know. I give controls 8 out of 20. As far as visuals and audio go, once again I was expecting quite good things. This runs on the Unreal 4 engine, and as we know from some of the ports on Switch, this can be used to great effect. Unfortunately with Balan Wonderworld, the artistic design is borderline atrocious. Characters look lifeless, their staring eyes look ridiculous. The resolution of these is so low that individual pixels can be seen almost at all times, and you'll notice jaggy edges on almost every surface. Once again we have a legendary name in the industry, Naoto Oshima, who worked on the original Sonic characters, and it just beggars belief how we go from that to this. The colour palette chosen for the world also doesn't quite fit. And then there's the performance. Performance on the Nintendo Switch in both docked and handheld is terrible. It struggles to maintain 30 FPS at all times. It drops by 5 frames in a single jump, and even 10 at times, and this is where the nausea issue really kicks in. It's most pronounced in the earlier stages, where the world bends up away from the player Inception style, and that combined with the terrible performance suddenly had me having to look away from the screen, and I didn't know what was happening. After 20 or 30 minutes more play, I felt genuinely sick. Sent Switch Corner a message, and it turns out he had exactly the same experience. Sure, games can look bad and run a little bit shoddily, but when they actually make you want to vomit, I think that's a bridge too far. Saying that the audio is one of the best aspects of the game really isn't saying much. As while Yamazaki has made an upbeat and cheerful track for the most part, he also has a number of very repetitive small musical loops that had me wincing on those first couple of levels. Later in the game, some of the stages have some great music, but it's inconsistent at best, and disappointing when you consider talent such as Laura Pitt Polford, a performer in the West End, does some of the vocals here. Overall, I give visuals and performance 3 out of 20, and the audio scores 10 out of 20. Balan Wonderworld is going to set you back a full premium Nintendo Switch price of £49.99 or your regional equivalent. Do I need to say whether I think it's worth that? No, I really don't think it's worth that price at all. I don't think it's worth half that price. This is a game I don't want to play again and have found really difficult to maintain some semblance of professionalism with, as it's a major disappointment. Will I recommend it when it's on an 80% off sale? I'm not entirely sure. Still, there are 12 stages. There's some after game content to unlock, and look, if you're after a platformer that would have looked reasonably mediocre back in the N64 days, then Balan Wonderworld is going to fill that void. For me, in 2021, not so much. I give value 6 out of 20. So there we have it. I'm both happy and sad that I'll never have to play Balan Wonderworld again. I really wish that it had turned out the way Yuri Naka had intended, and I do feel a little bit sorry for him. As Square Enix had said to him, this is your one chance to do this genre. If it doesn't pull off, then, well, yeah. Balan Wonderworld gets a SwitchUp score of 34%. Is this a game you'll be picking up? Have you already bought it? Did you buy it in advance? How do you feel about it? Thanks so much for watching the channel. Do subscribe if you enjoy the content. Hopefully my next review will be a little bit better. Thanks to our patrons who support us each and every month. Now I'm going to go and sleep in a tent for the next 3 nights with my kids because I foolishly promised to do so in the garden. Oh boy. For all things Switch, all the time, keep it Switch up. Cheers guys. See ya!